Yeah, man, so trying to get a lot more into comics right now. As I told you or showed you today, I did get the Heir of the Empire issues 1 through 6 complete, so very excited to dive into those. Just trying to get more educated on Star Wars comics. It's been a blind spot for sure for me with Star Wars. I was for a long time reading a lot of them, and then a lot of the events that happened in them have kind of left my memory, because that was 10 years ago now. So it's just, so getting back into it has been really cool. Like there one I read the other day. Have you read the Star Wars? Do you know about this?
Like the original run?
So it's like basically the Star Wars is based on George Lucas's rough draft. Original rough draft,
the concept stuff, right, like with Star Killer.
It's put into comic form essentially. So
I need to read those.
Yeah, really, really good. So that was one that I really enjoyed. It's really fascinating because every character, like a lot of the names are the same from what we know, but they do different things than what we know of in the original draft of George's script. And it's so weird. It's almost like a complete alternate timeline where like nothing makes sense, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. Just wacky.
Han's name of that.
I don't think Han's
Han Obi-Wan?
in that one. No, I don't think Han's in that one. So, because in that one, I don't remember exactly. Like Anakin is like the son in that, and like Luke is like the uncle. It's a whole mismatch. I don't think there is a Han specifically in that, but like everybody is like, I forgot what everybody's like really a Skywalker. Like every Jedi, I should say, is a Skywalker.
Oh, kind of like Thrawn's race, how they refer to them all as Skywalkers.
Yeah. So they kind of pulled that forward with the Chiss, I guess, a little bit, but like that was like initially what Jedi sort of were. So it's a really fascinating read, but I just found it to be like, it's really like the most wacky alternate timeline Star Wars thing you could read. Like it's really wild. The aesthetic of everything is completely different. It's just, but I thought they did a good job, like just using, that original script to adapt a comic. And yeah, that was an old Dark Horse one, I think. So, yeah, but really cool one I picked up. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about, so when Marvel ran the original Star Wars comics.
Yeah.
They continue. So once they wrote all the way up to the movie.
Yeah.
Then the Marvel went, well, this is selling too well, so they started writing new material with George overseeing it.
Oh.
It was basically like a Han adventure.
Okay.
And give me one moment.
You're good.
This would be the first appearance of a character that George hated was all his being. What was his name? They just put out a toy of him too not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
He's like a green Bugs Bunny, and his name is Jackson.
Jackson. Oh yes. I know what you're talking about now.
And George despised him.
Yeah.
And so.
No, I've never read any of that, but yeah, I do know I know of it a little bit. So
like everything about his character too goes into Looney Tunes, like his planet name. I think it's like Albert. I think he may say he's from Albuquerque or something like that.
Yeah.
Like all of it's just different references to Looney Tunes.
Right.
And George was not having it.
Interesting.
And then they actually put him back in canon. Do you remember what's it called? Powers of the Force. You got the Sabine toy for it. They're kind of like Barbie dolls.
Yes. Oh, Forces of Destiny was what you're referring to. Yeah.
They did little short cartoons.
Okay.
And he's in one of them, so they brought him back into canon.
Oh, okay.
So
where do you find those cartoons?
One day. I think it was a YouTube cartoon.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But I remember it was like flash animation. Like it was cheaply done, but
I see.
It is what it is.
Gotcha. Well, welcome back to Starlight Shadows, everybody. We thank you for being here. My name is Dom. That's Josh. we're gonna get into the 2015 Star Wars mainline, basically 10 years old now, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, we're gonna get into it.
Sorry, I'm gonna change something. Correct here. I'm sorry. His name's Bucky O'Hare.
Oh, Bucky O'Hare. Okay.
Yeah, Bucky O'Hare.
I was just saying, I've. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. That name I'm not so familiar with. I'll be honest with you. But
oh wait, I should probably read the full thing. His name is Jackson. He was based on also Bucky.
Oh. Okay.
There we go.
Gotcha. There we go. Yep. All right. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna at least start to try to dive into the 2015 mainline. Starting with these, we're just doing these first 6 issues here today. This makes up the first of the graphic novels too, which I own, Skywalker Strikes, which I've actually, this is where I really kind of started with Star Wars comics ages ago. Well, outside of some of the like movie adaptation comics, I've done some of those, but this is really where I was starting my journey at, and so many of these events have just like left my mind, like I was saying, and so I wanted to start again to get a refresher. So like I said, this is the 2015 mainline. If you guys ever read it, we're gonna talk about it just openly. If you ever read it in the 10 years it's been out, sorry for you, you know, but we're gonna talk about it pretty openly here, and just we thought this would be something interesting to do while there was no content currently being aired. And also the other thing that I was gonna say is we were gonna do Rebuild the Galaxy, but Josh was kind of watching it, was like, this ain't it, bro. So I was like, okay, here's another idea. So
I can give a quick rundown of the 2 episodes I watched of
okay.
before.
I mean, because I started it and I was enjoying it, but okay, go ahead.
My thing is there's not much for me to talk about with the show of what I've seen.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Star Wars Family Guy specials.
Okay.
Where, like, I get that they're kind of doing a skeleton crew where he's a fan of Jedi, but in this, it just feels like he knows the movies.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like, one of the jokes is there's an evil C-3PO, and he was like, oh, the chance of me killing you is da-da-da, rattles out a number.
Right.
And he goes, why does C-3PO always tell me the odds?
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, I remember
like,
the timelines being mismatched and everything. I remember that.
Yeah, like Dark Ray's one of the villains.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. The only thing that I was going to say, so my question to you just after 2 episodes of this, because it's interesting you bring up the fact that it's kind of like the Family Guy things, because these are the writers that are going to be doing Spaceballs too. So do you think they'd be better fit for that? Or does that make you nervous? I haven't seen the 2 that you saw.
Well,
that was the main reason I was interested in it.
No. They're doing it for children. This is more grounded towards children.
Yeah.
So I could see them, like, unleash. They could do whatever they needed to do.
Okay.
Like, it's not bad. It just didn't hold my interest.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if the same writers, though, had any part in this, but I was going to say they do, like, a lot of spoofing in the Lego game as well, which that stuff I enjoyed, you know, in the Lego game. Like, I like the way that they kind of spoof on all the movies. But
it could also be because, like, when I'm watching it, I want to see the alternate stuff. Like, I don't care about the 2 brothers storyline.
Okay.
And their friend. I just didn't care. So maybe if it, like, maybe if it followed a Star Wars character dealing with that stuff, then I'd be more interested, because like, oh, this is Luke going through the situation.
Yeah.
Other than following 2 brothers, I'm like, I don't care about these people.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I only saw the first one. I was enjoying that. I was going to try to cram them in today had we been doing that, but you know, we pivoted, which still ended up making you cram some stuff in today, which but we do appreciate it. So anyway, like I was saying, we're going to dive into Skywalker Strikes, the first 6 issues of the 2015 mainline. So I'm just going to dive right into this, Josh. If you're ready to go here, I do have some notes that we're going to kind of run through here. So first thing I want to say about this, overall thoughts, actually is where I'll start. I enjoy this so far. Just like I enjoyed it the first time I read it. I still enjoy it now. It's not a mind-blowing 6 issues or anything like that, but I think tonally it really feels like Star Wars to me. In a lot of ways, it does naturally feel like the time period between New Hope and Empire. Some things I have questions about still that I don't remember the answers to. I have read a bit beyond this as well, for sure, that are kind of like, well, I'm not sure how that's going to make sense, but I'll get to that later in the spoiler part of it. But my overall thoughts is like, yeah, it's just, it feels like an introductory story to this time period between New Hope and Empire, and I thought, like, again, tonally it was pretty on point. What do you think of this overall?
Since I kind of had to cram read them, they're all kind of mushed together
That's fine.
now. But I would say, because I buy comics weekly as they come out. This would not be in my go around. I'd probably just let it build.
Yeah,
like it already has.
Yeah,
I'm not blown away with it. It's good for what it is. It's readable.
Right. Same.
The things I did like was it was kind of cool to see Boba Fett true to form again.
We were talking about that for sure. Yeah, but go ahead. Yeah.
Everyone reads right. The art's pretty decent. A few times I didn't care for the faces, but other than that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, the art part of it didn't really bother me too much. Like there wasn't a lot of gripes in the art for me, or really any at all. I thought all the illustrations looked really good for the most part. I didn't have any real bothers with the faces, but it's interesting you bring that up because I feel like later on in this series I did start to have some gripes with the faces, so it's just interesting that you're having them this early on. But yeah, I'm
not too keen on like movie adaptation faces, like where it's like hyper cartoon. It's like stylized, but it's them. It always comes off. It reminds me of like forget the artist's name, but the guy like the Mad Magazine. Parodies. You know how they always say like the really detailed characters on them. That's what I always makes me think of. Like Luke looked goofy a couple of times to me.
I think what's cool about this though is like, and then I'll get into something here too, is one of my favorite things about this line is that this is what crosses into Vader Down. So that's going to be a cool part of this to read again. But I really like Vader Down as a storyline. I thought that was really good. But what I think that's the one though where I was starting to have some weird like facial issues though, just a couple times, like you kind of had here. So that's fascinating. But yeah, man, I'm just gonna dive right in here. So yeah, like mine are kind of mismatched too because I did this in a 24-hour, you know what I mean? Or well, geez, really a 1-hour thing, it's all kind of mismatched together for me too. But what I did like about, if we're just talking about these first 6 here, opened with the Empire. I really enjoyed that as an opening for this because that did feel very classic Star Wars opening. Like it really made me feel like this could be like an opening to one of the films or the TV shows, especially the exchange with Han. And I believe the guy's name was Agadine, if I'm not mistaken. But that stuff really worked for me. And by the way, if you got any comments to chime in here on any of this, just stop me. But yeah, like we were already kind of saying, like Han, Luke, and Leia, Chewie, C-3PO, all the characters, they read really well. Like I think that the dialogue for all of them, it feels very much in line with what we know from the films and everything, and that's kind of where I was getting into tonally. Now with this Imperial stuff, one of the panels that did stand out like artistically was definitely the red panels where like the room got kind of red with all the troopers and stuff. I thought that stood out. That was really good illustration. But I also, what I really, really enjoyed about the first issue, first of all, it's cool that this is taking place in a time period where Luke has a lightsaber. I do think that adds a little bit more excitement to the possibilities in this line. I haven't read the stuff between Empire and Jedi, but I could see that being, a little bit less exciting because you don't really follow a hero with a lightsaber. You're following Luke without one. I'm not saying it's not exciting. I'm just saying, like, I think that having the lightsaber just immediately adds excitement because of the possibilities of the really what I always call Star Wars, like a good alternate title for Star Wars, like in this time period would be The Adventures of Luke Skywalker. Reading this kind of feels like you're reading that, like this could have been The Adventures of Luke. But yeah.
Did you ever read the comic about Luke building his lightsaber?
Is there like canon or legends?
Canon.
No,
or new canon.
Is that has to be in the line between Empire and Return? I haven't read any of that. I'm completely.
I have it somewhere around here, but it's about how he figured it out.
Okay,
and it's a really cool,
okay.
And it ties into why he has the red kyber crystal in Last Jedi.
Oh, okay.
He goes into that too.
See, I read a little bit of background on him getting the crystal, but I haven't actually read the comic. But what I do have just a quick question on that is, does it follow at all the deleted scene from Return of the Jedi when he's putting the lightsaber together? Did it take anything from that, or?
It is before that, so it's him getting the kyber crystal and learning how to build and all that.
I got you. So they wiped that deleted scene from canon completely then. So this is just a new story on getting that lightsaber then, right?
I don't think he fully built in that. I think it's about him getting the crystal, and then that goes into him
so it never gets built.
If I remember right.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool too.
But it's about him figuring how a lightsaber's built.
Yeah, that's something I definitely want to get into. So I'm going to try to. Again, my whole reason for refreshing myself on the 2015 line is so I can just move straight into, because I already have a couple of them, the ones between Empire and Jedi. So I'm really hoping we can get to those. Anyway, yeah, like I said, the red panels really stood out, though. I think was the last thing. Oh no, sorry, we were talking about Luke and the saber, duh. But what I also really enjoyed is that while Luke and Vader have a clash in this, I enjoy that it was very brief. Like, it didn't make it so epic that it didn't take away from the one in Empire to me. It was so brief that it didn't ruin anything in Empire Strikes Back, which was kind of a dangerous line to walk, if you ask me. They could have easily had made this so significant that it could have made the one in Empire feel so much less significant, and that's not how it was at all. I really enjoyed everything with Vader in this, but also just the fact
Vader's very cold.
Vader's awesome in this comic, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I just especially like that it's effortless for him to take Luke's lightsaber from him. I think that their sabers clash pretty much only once. You know what I mean? It reminds me of. It kind of made me reminisce on a little bit of when Ezra and Vader clashed very briefly there, although Ezra did a little bit better, I think. Just not by much, but I'm just glad that it didn't make the one in Empire feel insignificant. You know what I mean? So,
or one of those here's a situation that we'll never refer to again.
Exactly. And then, as we were talking about, though, one of the things that I really love, though, going back to Vader, is we really, not only is he very cold in this comic, but we really got to see his abilities very full-fledged, I thought, in a very cool way. I did like the thing he did to their ship, Han and Leia's, when they were trying to escape. I thought that stuff really worked. And another very cool panel was Vader standing with all the flames around him, and all the debris and everything like that. Just looked very, very neat. And the whole action sequence with Luke and the speeder bike, I thought that was all very cool. It's man, I wish we could see this in live action.
Kind of ties into Return of the Jedi.
No, for sure. I agree. It does make me think about Return of the Jedi in a lot of ways. It kind of sets up because we've seen Luke fly a ship, but we've never really seen him on a speeder in this time period. So it was kind of that setup of he's great on a speeder too, even though he kind of referenced it in A New Hope a little bit, where he was talking about, I used to bullseye womp rats on my T-16 kind of thing.
He says that in the comic too.
Yeah, he does. It does get brought back too. You're right.
Yeah, I
forgot about that. So either way, just seeing Vader's abilities very full-fledged. I enjoyed having extra scenes with Luke and Leia here, or extra moments with them, because extra dialogue exchanges. A, it's very consistent. B, it further fleshes out some of the moments we get in Empire. Because, I don't know, we all feel pretty weird about the kiss, in Empire Strikes Back, but I guess seeing these extra exchanges, it does help it. It helps make that kiss in Empire feel a little bit more okay, there was sort of a back and forth here prior. not just that little bit we see in New Hope. So any extra exchange with the two of them, I mean, any extra exchange with all these characters really is going to help. What's the word I'm looking for? Enhance, I should say, Empire Strikes Back a little bit, because as long as the exchanges remain consistent, right?
To tie it back real quick to that original comic run back in the adaptation.
Yeah.
And how they so the set of guidelines they had if they were going to carry out the story was one of the main ones was not to develop Luke and Leia's relationship.
Right.
That was one of the main guidelines that was set for that comic.
Oh, I see. No, I mean, for this, I really enjoyed it, though. It was, yeah. Again, it's all about, for me, like, while this isn't something that blew me away, it really did just all kind of come down to the consistency of these characters, like, and just keeping it in line with what we know from them. Even better, though, this is one of those moments, though, that really, and there's a moment within this, Josh, that I knew you had to burst out laughing your ass off. But the fact that we got to see Vader and Jabba interact is...
Yeah, oh, when he yells at Salacious Crumb?
Yes. I was like, that moment was written for Josh.
So I have the Marvel app, right?
Yeah.
So it does something called, I think it's like Action Panel.
Oh, no.
So it'll zoom into the panels.
Yeah.
And like, so, a lot of scenes like where Vader was walking.
Yeah.
How quick I could swipe on those made it look animated almost.
Oh, wow.
Like camera shots. It was really cool.
That's cool.
But I swipe, and then my whole screen is just Salacious Crumb laughing maniacally. And I swipe over again, and it's Vader saying, I advise him never to do that in front of me again. Yeah, no, that was really good. I think I screenshot that scene.
I knew if there was a quote you remembered, that'd be the one from this one. So
but that's not my first laugh in this comic.
Yeah. I'll be honest, that moment is what made me suggest maybe Josh should read these, because it was that moment in particular, because I really was excited for you to see that moment is awesome. It's awesome. It's so, like, it's such a crazy dynamic that we've never been able to see on screen. Yeah.
Funny enough, a little bit to last week's episode.
Yeah.
So I was at my local comic dealer, and I spent a exuberant amount of money on some funny books.
Yeah.
And on my way out, I look in his case, and he has, for $40, Jabba with the Salacious Crumb playset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'll be coming back for you. So we are going to knock something off my list that I mentioned last week.
Yeah.
So a little callback to last week's episode, but that's not the first thing that made me laugh in this comic.
What was the first thing?
Vader using stormtroopers as bullets or shields. Block the blast.
Yeah. That stuff all really plays. Yeah. I love that. Again, that ties back into just showing his abilities in this, and like, amazing stuff. Everything with Vader is working for me here. Like, it's the one thing that I would say is really keeping me going right now. Like, it's the big motivator right now is to get more Vader. But also,
and it's actually some of his dialogue in this, how he's like talking about like the deal and all that, really plays into him saying to Lando the the line he says to Lando.
I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. Yeah.
That's basically what he says, like everyone in this comic.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's pretty much, well, there's not a negotiation. This is what's happening. If you get to live, that'll be fine.
Exactly. Yeah, he just sets the rules. He doesn't make deals, really. He's just telling you what the rules are. Especially even with Jabba. He's like, no negotiations, I'm walking away. And then Jabba's like, fine, I'll give you a little bit of what you need here. Which, yeah.
But you get to see something die first. He's very adamant about that.
That was a good line from Jabba, even, though. Like, I gotta say, as far as Jabba dialogue goes, really good. Oh, that's another thing I want to bring up about these panels, too, though, is, like, it did, because we got into the Jabba stuff, the underworld a little bit, like, I love the Return of the Jedi vibes. I love going into those, fantastical realms, a little bit more in this time period. Like, I think that's another big motivator, too, is just all that, that's what's really driving this story right now for me, is just having those little fantastical areas, which is just super cool. I mean, I really have a soft spot for the Return of the Jedi vibes these days. So anytime I get them, it's really cool. It's not, again, my favorite Star Wars movie, but
Yet.
yeah, I know, but I keep going back to it a lot. It's coming in close. But I do just love the scenes in there. There are certain scenes in Jedi that just, they make me happy. A lot of the scenes, I should say. Anyway, so yeah, man, I just thought it was cool to see that new interaction with Vader and Salacious and all that. Hopefully, now another thing I'm hoping we get more of, this is very, very brief, but I appreciated it. The Mon Mothma, Akbar, and Leia, all that stuff was as brief as it was. It makes me hope that there's a lot more of it. Like, I think that's one thing that they could do more of, especially starting to get into the politics of things. The other thing I really liked about that is the first thing it made me think of was Ahsoka, because when Leia sends in 3PO in Ahsoka, it's like we've never seen Mon and Leia interact on screen before, but yet Mon is so giddy about the fact that Leia sent 3PO in that moment, and so you could tell that they have a really tight-knit relationship. Now, don't get me wrong, I mean, obviously it makes sense that Leia and Mon would have a tight-knit relationship, just the nature of their positions in the rebellion. However, my point is that, like, and also obviously Mon's relationship with Leia's dad. But my point is like, just having that just further enhances it, and that's what I hope we see more of. I want to see more of Mon Mothma and Akbar in this storyline. I hope that is something that they expand on a lot more. Because I thought that dialogue, that was some of the most fascinating stuff, and I actually really enjoyed that. That's how we kind of ended up learning that planet name, the Simoon 1, I think it was, like, that they ended up on. That stuff was all cool. But also, I love that we're already kind of getting that development on the Han Solo side of things a little bit too. His trepidation for being out here and doing these missions, because he's still afraid of that bounty that's on his head a little bit. So I like that they kept that in line as well.
What was the line where she said you lived too much in the past, and then she goes, what will happen what happens when you fix the ship? Well, you live too much in the future.
Exactly. That was a great line too. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm glad that one stood out for sure. I do love Han Solo in this. I gotta be honest, like, Han is, it's starting to set him up. We always say, or I always say anyway, like, and you agreed that one time that Empire's Han's movie. So this is kind of starting to push him a little bit more toward the forefront of things. So that way, hopefully, I'm hoping anyway, it's a natural transition into The Empire Strikes Back. So that would be my main hope for the Han stuff. Really, everything I want to transition smoothly into Empire. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the bounty hunter Santa Solo. Not sold on the character, but the immediate thing we later find out it's Santa. But immediately in her introduction, what I did enjoy, I mean, she's cool, but I really enjoyed the attire. I think that was the first thing that stood out on top of the personality. I actually really enjoy her look. I think that's a very, very cool look for a bounty hunter, personally. But I thought one of the things that made actually a lot of sense for Luke to do was to go back to Tatooine to search for answers. I thought that stuff really played in. What I really love, even just tying into this here, we were already kind of referencing Boba Fett. Even made more sense as Boba going back into the cantina, on Tatooine. That worked for me. I love that, because, and you were kind of saying, like, we got to see Boba Fett. It felt like a return to form for Boba Fett for me, reading this, where it was like, this is what we should have had in the show, but
so
what's your gripe, though? It sounds like you got one here.
I don't have a gripe, I have a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Why is his one weakness blind people?
You think it's a weakness for him?
He fought Luke blind and lost. He fought Han Solo blind and lost.
Oh, yeah.
Because the minute they're like, Luke's like, I'm blind. I'm like, seen this before.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Like, why does that always take him out?
It is interesting. Really fascinating. Maybe that was subtly a subtle play. I don't know, like a subtle joke. Maybe that just didn't land jokingly. You know what I mean? Like a subtle spoof, but it didn't really land that way. Because now that you mentioned it, I'm kind of like, I guess I didn't make the connection until you said it, and now I'm like, that's interesting. Because I was like, yeah, I mean, I understood when you said that like Luke was blind or whatever, right? But like at the same time, I was like, I didn't make the Han connection either. It's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
And for a minute, while I was reading it, I thought Luke hit his jetpack. I'm like, oh, for love of God, but it ended up being that he was just launching towards Luke.
Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, he's got a weakness for blind people.
Really fascinating. And I almost wonder if it was a purposeful.
It had to be.
Yeah, if you get it, you get it, kind of thing. I don't know. But I don't know. Again, I don't like that because the stuff that works for me about Boba Fett is when he's taken more seriously, like in other moments of this comic book. And now that you mentioned that, I'm like, oh no, they're making a joke out of him again. Please don't make a I just hope moving forward that doesn't become a thing where they try to make a mockery of him, because, like, yeah, I understand Return of the Jedi made a mockery of the guy. It's stupid how he goes down that Starlight pit, but I'm saying, like, you're not wrong though. It's just there's something there that's like, I don't know. I just want Boba to be cool because in this comic he was really cool. It reminded me of the actual episode of Mandalorian season 2. With Boba. So I hope that remains consistent. I just don't want them to start to make a joke out of him in this line. But so far, for the most part, they didn't. And a lot of the stuff was very cool. I still thought him interrogating people in the cantina was very cool. I still, while you make that point.
About him torturing that kid.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I like the callbacks, by the way. I like that we got some of the characters from A New Hope that were in the cantina there. Back in this, I thought that was really neat, so I enjoyed that a lot. I just I like seeing Boba Fett like this, man, and it also just having Boba Fett there again. It's already this is the thing. If I could say that stood out the most about this is how much or how well it's already setting up things for Empire. So I think that like just having Boba's presence in this comic book at all is already a great setup for the Empire Strikes Back. You know what I mean? So. Especially that he's already kind of doing things for Vader, you know what I mean? I think that's a really neat little thing there. So, yeah, like I said, but yeah, just seeing, but aside from your little point there, I thought the confrontation with him and Luke was still very cool. So
yeah, that was a cool fight.
Yeah. Now, what's really fascinating, and I'm trying to make this make sense in my mind, and Vader learns from Boba that it's Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it doesn't ruin anything. I guess I always operated under the assumption that Palpatine told him that for the first time. And so, like, again, on one end, it doesn't really ruin anything. It's just it's interesting that's the direction they took in the comic,
Well, because I found when he got the lightsaber, he kind of put it together. When he saw that Luke had it.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's how I viewed it. And then I was like, oh, maybe he can. I figured you'd also be able to sense it through the Force.
Yeah. It doesn't.
I don't know how I feel about Boba Fett being the one that told.
Yeah, me either. That's the thing. It's like it's one of those things I want to keep an eye on moving forward. You know what I mean? Because like I want to see how they continue that between Vader and the Emperor. You know what I mean? And to see like. Because that's something I'm sure we're going to get into is Vader and the Emperor here at some point, some kind of exchange, pre the exchange at Empire Strikes Back, but it will probably parallel that exchange a little bit. So I just want to see that. I'm excited to see that. I'm actually, from my recollection, I'm almost positive there's an exchange between him and the Emperor, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But that's one thing I just hope to see. But it is fascinating. That was one of those details, even though I'd read this before a couple times, I had just forgotten completely that Boba is the one that told Vader that. So, yeah, really interesting. Again, just doesn't ruin it yet. I just want to see how we play it out. But then we learn about, I'm very curious about kind of our, outside of the Skywalker thing, our sort of other cliffhanger that we have, leaving this off as Senna Solo. I think in our circles it's pretty common knowledge that this was a character, but I don't know how familiar you were with that Senna Solo stuff.
I completely forgot about her until this comic.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, does it, to me, like, I guess I that's one thing I do remember from this line is the conclusion of that story. So I know, like, why she was his wife and all that kind of stuff. But so it doesn't really kill anything for me. Just having that knowledge already in my brain. But the character is fine, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have enough, you know what I mean? I guess.
Yeah.
And so, like, I could see, I guess my point is like, I could see somebody, like, reading this for the first time and being like, what? You know what I mean? But also, like, hopefully, like, what in a way that makes them want to keep reading this, but at the same time, like, having trepidation about this, I guess, you know, like, how is this gonna play? Because it's probably the biggest, like, bombshell, I would say, that was dropped in this, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
You think Boba telling Vader is bigger?
Well, I think that's finding out that Luke's his son is pretty big.
Yeah, no, obviously. That's huge, like, as a general thing. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I was doing a joke.
Okay.
Finding out that Luke's Vader's son.
No, I thought you meant Luke finding that, or Vader finding out that Luke is his son.
No, I just doing a joke that.
I see what you're saying. Very good, very good. Yeah, no, you're right. Had no idea. Didn't see that one coming at all. It's, yeah, not like it's the most popular line in cinema history or anything. But, yeah. No, man, I thought that
the most popular line in cinema history is actually McCulkey.
Maybe now. maybe due to meme culture, that's become the most popular. But we'll see. Who knows? We'll see. Time will tell. Only time will tell how McCulkey's gonna hold up. No, anyway, so lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I would say to me that's probably the biggest bombshell was that Han was married. I think it obviously this wasn't a thing in 2015, but I think, like, having the Solo movie prior to that, I think the difference for me reading this now and when I did in 2015 is, like, I love Kira, so I would hope if he married anybody, it'd be her. You know what I mean? Prior to Leia,
Yeah.
anyway. That's, I think, what kind of, it doesn't kill this moment for me, but it makes me a little bit iffy on it right now. But again, I kind of want to reread through because for that reason, to see if I end up falling in love with Senna. I can't remember actually, like, my vibe with this character reading her anyway, and I do think it takes a little while to develop her further. So
that's never really a good sign when you don't remember anything about the character.
I don't remember a lot of these comics, and I love these characters though. That's the thing. Like, that's 10 years is, I don't know, man. I guess I think part of it was because I just never finished out the whole line. You know what I mean? And I think, like, not having finished the line, or the run, I should say, is kind of what's made me, like, yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, but I didn't not finish it because I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't finish it because at the time I wanted to have all the graphic, like you were kind of saying, let it play and then go back. Yeah. It wouldn't be a week-to-week thing for you. And for me, I was buying all the graphic novels, and I realized that, like, I was getting through them so quick that I wanted to wait till I could build them all up. Now I do have them all, but I just never went back to restart and go through it in, like, a binge kind of thing. You know what I mean? Or maybe not a binge, but, you know, read one of these every so often or whatever, you know, to at least, like, get through it. So that's what it was for me. So I know that I have, like, things in my mind that are left unfinished. There are definitely some standout storylines that I do remember from this run that I can't wait to get to again, because they are so good, for sure. There's so standout stuff. Vader Down's a part of this, as I already said. I thought that one stood out to me. But other ones as well are in this run that are, like, so great, and some of my favorite, you know, Luke Skywalker, a lot of good Luke stuff. I do remember that in this. So without giving much away here, but what I will say, I have a thing, and again, this is part of my, I don't remember. Well, obviously there's something that they can't do, but I'm like, I don't remember how they work around it or if they do. But you tell me your take on this. So, one of my gripes, pending the rest of this, is Luke finds Ben Kenobi's journal.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me he didn't mention anywhere in his journal about Vader or Anakin turning into Vader?
Was wondering that myself. I was kind of wondering what the point of the journal was.
Yeah.
Unless it's going to be just like how Luke learns Jedi tricks.
Well, okay. I can tell you this. The journal's very cool. Like, when you dive into some of the stuff in there, very cool stuff. I guess just right now I put that together, though, where I was like, really? Like that? Like, he doesn't mention, like, Anakin turning into Vader? But I don't remember. One of his
tormented thoughts?
What's that? Yeah, exactly.
One of his...
Like, it should be, like, the thing that's at the forefront of his mind. You think if he kept a journal, that's in there somewhere. And so I'm interested. Or, the flip side of that, this comic is using the journal to represent a certain point of view. So maybe at some point Obi-Wan writes down, my Padawan died, was killed by Vader. And that's how he writes it, too, because of the way Obi-Wan spoke. I don't know, because I don't remember, or I never got to that if it's mentioned throughout this run. But I do remember some of the things in Kenobi's journal, for sure, that actually kind of help inform a little bit some of the stuff that we saw in the Kenobi show. I could say that much. It definitely ties in a cool way. But what I just didn't enjoy about, well, one of the things I remember always kind of griping on is we do go through like a lot of his journal stuff in this run. I know that much. But they also made like an entire comic run just on the journals of Obi-Wan. I remember that being a gripe of mine back in the day. Because I was like,
it's called beating a dead horse.
Yeah. That was exactly what it was. Because I remember Marvel putting out the journals of Obi-Wan and being like, really? Like, is this something I got to get to, I don't know, try to tie it all in? Because I remember like leading into the Kenobi series, I was, wondering if they were going to take anything from the journals of Obi-Wan comic. And I just, in my head, that's kind of what was upsetting me a little bit about that, was that I was, in my mind, I was sitting there kind of like, well, I've read some of the journals of Obi-Wan from the 2015 run, but they made a whole other thing too that I don't know if it's going to tie in and is important. I mean, luckily the Kenobi show, is what it is, so it's not like it's very upsetting now. And I actually think a lot of the storylines with Obi-Wan in this that we see through the journals, I remember are, to me, they're a little bit better than what was done in the Kenobi show, so.
I mean, is that really saying much?
No, but that's, I guess, going into my point, the things I liked about this comic, it's already a better start than we've had in some of these shows, you know what I mean? Like, as far as like, like it feels like a better introduction to that. Like, I think that's one of the cool things about having the comics is, it's kind of like what they should be using the shows for. You can tell a long story where you can get invested over, however many issues, and feel very invested by the end of it. And, the thing about a comic book is I think it's probably one of the hardest mediums to write for, if you ask me, you know what I mean? It's a much more challenging medium to write for, you know what I mean? So, because you do have to try to do things in issue form, I suppose, and but also, just like a TV show, you kind of want to have your beginning and end mapped out, you know what I mean? Especially if you're going to be doing I don't remember how many issues run of this, you know what I mean? I think there's like 50, but
it's in the hundreds.
It might be, actually. I do know there's a lot of graphic novels to this. There's like 13 total graphic novels. So my guess will be in the 50s if it's 6 issues apiece. But yeah, I don't know.
Actually,
yeah, you could Google it, I guess.
I have the Marvel app. No, I have the app.
Oh, yeah, you have the app. That's right. So how many issues in the 2015 run, I should say?
Mm-hmm. Also, it's really fun looking for this comic because it's just called Star Wars.
I can only imagine.
Like I had to go off the cover.
Oh wow.
There we go. 75.
75. Okay, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess that's my point. So, you know, you got 75 issues. So much like a TV show, you're going to want to map everything out. I'm assuming that was probably, I don't know, you probably know a little bit more about this than I would, but I would imagine that what happens is initially like Disney, whoever runs their comic book department or novel literary department, I guess Marvel in this case, Marvel would probably commission, right, 75 issue run, and then they would need a writer to do it in that many issues. Is that how you think that would work? If you had to guess?
Essentially, that's usually how it would work.
Yeah.
It also could be just someone like, hey, I have this idea. Okay, can we fit into this? Or
right.
I don't know if it's a consistent writer throughout.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just
people write an arc and then they go.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. So they probably, that's another way it could work too, where it's like, you know, I have this idea, and then Marvel says, okay, we could budget 75 issues, right, for this or whatever. So maybe that's part of it too. But the other thing that's really interesting is like, because what I bet does not happen though is somebody has an idea for a Star Wars story and says, I want to make a 75 issue run. I'm not saying it never happens, but it probably doesn't happen often. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to either happen with, do you think you could tell that part A of that is, do you think you could tell it in 75 issues? Or again, Marvel has the idea of, you know, ordering a 75 issue run is my guess. You know what I mean? Thinking like, oh, because if we do it that way, we can make it last over this amount of time and market it this way. So anyway, for those reasons, I think it's more challenging to write in the comic medium. Yeah.
I looked at the title of the last issue.
Is it Rogues and Rebels or Rebels and Rogues or something like that? I know that's like either the last graphic novel. I think graphic.
Yeah, it's the name of the last arc, but it's called Destination Hoth, so it does lead right up to.
See, that's going to be neat, though. I think that journey could be really neat for this. And I guess that kind of leads me into the last section of this that I wanted to run into, which is our hopes for this series moving forward. And that's mine. I mean, that's my big one, is that like it just is a smooth ride into Empire. That's one thing I hope for. Another hope that I have is I want more of the political stuff with Mon and Akbar. Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. I'm looking at all the issues that came out for this and on my app.
Yeah.
And there's a Star Wars issue 0 director's cut.
Interesting. I wonder what that's
about.
So
it's the first issue. I was kind of swiping through to see if I noticed anything remotely different. It might just be. Okay, that's this. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's kind of cool. The director's part is how they write the script.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So it's like panel 10-1 Han as one of the troops blasts in his hand, points to us, and his grin is gone, and then it's like effect, lights turn red. Like, so this tells you how to basically
that's neat.
Directions for the illustrator.
Yeah. I've always been curious on that, like I was kind of saying, especially on like a big run like this, you know what I mean? This one was massive, which my understanding is they shortened it quite a bit for the run between Empire and Jedi, because they were like, this went on pretty long. But the good news is this could kill some time for us moving forward, you know, while we don't have content. And luckily now you'll have a week advance to get through 6 issues or whatever. So anyway. But moving forward for me, that's my hope. I want more of the political stuff with Mon Mothma and Akbar as well. I'm hoping to see more of that. I hope I end up liking Santa and that she wasn't just dropped in here for a throwaway thing. I hope that she's a well-developed character moving forward. Just because, like I said, just the bombshell of, you know, we were married or we're married. She said I am his wife, right?
Yeah, She says his last name. Her last name is Solo. Goes Han's wife.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he goes, oh.
Yeah.
That's the exact noise too.
Yeah, exactly. No, speaking of Han, I know that later on there's one thing though in this comic that didn't sit with me right, that we're gonna spoof in a funny way. It's not gonna ruin anything, but it's just a really funny what the hell moment in this run that I remember specifically that we'll get to at some point hopefully. But anyway, my hopes for the run are just that and more Vader. Come on, we need more Vader. I know that there's also a 2015 Vader line. I understand that crosses in with Vader down and all that, but that stuff I didn't like that run as much. I do remember that one pretty well. It was fine. The 2015 Vader line. It's a good run, I should say, but the problem with it is it's more of like a Dr. Aphra run than it is a Vader run, which is great. I love Dr. Aphra, but I was just expecting a Vader run. Like, if you want a good Vader run, it's the 2017 one to me. That really works for Vader. But this one, I know that Vader still comes in and out of this one. I know that this ties into Rogue One in a lot of ways too. I do kind of remember that about this, like the stuff from Rogue One coming forward into this run that I really enjoyed and things like that. What would be your, because again, like none of us in this first 6 issues were like stunned or blown away by it. So like, what would be your like hopes for it moving forward, or demands, or to keep you invested?
More Salacious Crumb.
That's obviously priority one. That's for any Star War though. For you, I think.
Yeah. I'm gonna think here at all.
If Obi-Wan had some Salacious Crumb, that'd be the best show in the world for you.
I mean, evidence shows that it didn't, and it's definitely not the greatest show. Let's see here. Let's think. What would really just be a real wingdinger for me?
Yeah.
Nothing really, honestly. Like, there's, I guess the Hoth journey. I guess that would be it. But nothing really.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I want it to feel like how Yavin did in Rebels almost. You know what I mean? Like building the base there. Like I want that same investment into Hoth. Like every time they would flash to what's going on in Rebels or Yavin in Rebels. Wampas. Yes, exactly. We need Wampas.
More of those.
Yes.
I guess this because I know the Road to Return of the Jedi comic, that's what I'm more interested in, because that's where you get Luke building the saber and that comic.
Of course, really, yeah. Really good. I want to get there. Yeah, that's my whole point of getting back into these, just to get there for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, more goofy creatures.
Yeah, no, I agree with you though on that though, because I was talking about, my favorite things about this were the Return of the Jedi vibes. And a lot of that does include like goofy creatures, and I do know that there's one really good issue, or a couple I think, that runs over, or one really good like 6 issue arc that it deals with some really cool creatures for sure, like 100%. That I remember. That's one of my favorite sections of this whole thing. I do remember that. But yeah, more goofy creatures, or even like threatening creatures for Luke to fight with the saber, like that would be neat. Like I do want more Luke saber action now that he has it. Just, it doesn't have to be like crazy Jedi stuff he's doing. He won't be doing that because he hasn't ran into Yoda yet. But just I want more
swishing around.
Yes, situations where he's almost cornered to where he has to use it. You know what I mean? I think would be cool. Like, you don't have to do it left and right, but that would be cool. This is a big one too for me, like developing that Han and Leia relationship more, to where it's like by the time they get together in Empire, it's almost like it's so believable. You know what I mean? Like I just want it to, like, I want Empire Strikes Back as a movie to mean so much more to me when this is done.
Oh, I guess we could talk about Han's little impromptu hideaway / date.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Where he even, I forget the name of the planet, but he takes her there to get away. Did he fake that he was worried?
I don't know.
Because he steers the ship with alerts the TIE fighters, right?
Yeah.
So was he faking that?
I didn't take it as a fake, but
because how much did he plan it out?
Well, I think it goes back into what we were talking about with Han in general, like on a couple episodes ago, where so much of him is luck. I think that this is a lot of that same thing. Yeah,
they get down there and there's a bottle of wine just waiting.
That's true. But
he did say, "Thank God that Wookiee didn't finish it or whatever."
Yeah. That really made me call back, because I actually just rewatched Curse of the Black Pearl. It made me call back Jack and the Rum so much.
Yeah, it's may shock you, but that is a film franchise I do not care for.
No, it doesn't shock me.
I like the first one enough.
Yeah, first one's the best one. Yeah, first one's really, really good. It held up so much better than I thought it would too on this rewatch. I was like, do you realize like how well the effects actually hold up in that? Like, it's crazy. The first movie, the effects are amazing in that. I forgot how groundbreaking they were at the time. They still hold up.
What is it? What is oh God, Davy Jones?
Yeah. Well,
he's not in the first one.
No. I'm intrigued to watch the next two to see how they held up, because those are the three I remember enjoying, is the first three. The first one obviously being the best and untoppable in that franchise. Rumor, by the way, that Depp is coming back to do a Pirates with Craig Mazin, showrunner of Last of Us. So
worry about Last of Us. How about that?
Yeah. Oh no, I want to see Last of Us play out. Don't get me wrong. I'm just, which we don't have that much long of a wait, where we'll be rotating between Last of Us and Andor. So that'll be an interesting time period for sure. But yeah. Anyway, man, I enjoyed this for what it is. That's probably the best way to put it. Like, for what it is, yeah, it's good. Yeah.
It's good in a certain point of view.
Exactly. I do know that there are much better issues, or much better, this being introductory, just naturally it gets,
it's just a starting
better.
Arc.
Exactly. I do know it gets better, but I thought that, just since I was already kind of diving in, which that was one thing I wanted to bring to this show, was comics, for sure. Because it's, again, my biggest blind spot, so I thought it'd be cool for even the audience just to see me react to some of these, a little bit too as I go. So for me, yeah, this was good. I mean, I liked it. Just hoping for. I have demands to keep me in, to keep me invested, I guess, and if it, if it falls off too much, I guess we move on. If this becomes a
slog,
an Acolyte situation. We'll just put it that way.
I don't think I'll be that.
No.
I could see it getting too filler too quick, but
yeah,
that's the problem with most comics.
Well, that's what I do remember from this run, is the stuff that was like filler-y was really good. Like, it wasn't, it didn't feel like they were doing like filler stories to be, I mean, the filler stories felt like they were still fun. You know what I mean? Like, I still remember the filler stories in this being a lot of fun. And actually, I actually remember liking some of the filler stuff a little bit more than the main stuff that was going on, like which was interesting for this run. Not that the main stuff was bad by nature, just I remember liking the fillery stuff a little bit more, to some degree. So yeah, no, but a 75 issue run, we're probably going to run into that once in a while.
So hear me out.
Yeah.
I looked up for this run of Star Wars comics how many times Salacious Crumb appears.
Yeah.
3 times.
That's good.
Yeah, he gets 3 appearances.
All right. We'll be looking out for those. We'll have to put up the crumb counter on the bottom corner or something.
He's even in the Vader comic? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just typed in comic appearances and it pulled up like all of them. He's done a lot.
Yeah. That's one thing because the 2015 stuff I do kind of remember is I remember seeing some Salacious Crumb. I mean, I that's one thing I like about the comics is they do dive into the underworld a little bit more than we've had in any other format. So, like, you're going to see Salacious naturally because of that, but also it just, God, I remember in 2015 when I was reading some of this stuff, it was like, and then those Guillermo del Toro rumors were popping up. It was just starting to hype me up for that, and I was like, so now it's just kind of a bummer. But never say never. But Guillermo.
I'm still waiting for In the Mountains of Madness. So
yeah, I know. There's a couple things that Guillermo's dropped out
and
of.
the people behind me are like, yeah, what about Hellboy 3? And it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like what's that other Guillermo one? Like Antlers, like sounded like such a cool project for him, and then like somebody else directed it, and just, gosh dang it, because that movie ended up being bad,
Or Pacific Rim 2.
There's that. Our boy, John Boyega, our Star Wars alum, really good actor, just done poorly in that movie, So he was done dirty. That was another thing that. Yeah.
Your Return of the Jedi comic you got?
Yeah.
That you got signed by Mr. Jim Shooter himself.
Yes.
If I'm researching this correctly, that is the first appearance of Salacious Crumb.
No kidding.
That's what it sounds like.
Ooh, see, that's something to look into getting graded then.
Well, you got to sign my Jim. I definitely would.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now that you mentioned that. I was already kind of considering that one, and then now that you mentioned that, for sure, because that one I already have. I already had that Return of the Jedi graphic novel, so I don't really need that issue for reading. I have a hardcover, the graphic novel, so that's one I could definitely look into.
We know a guy, so
yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, I did want to credit. I'm glad you brought that up really quick, because I did want to credit that this was written by Jason Aaron and illustrated by John Cassaday. We forgot to mention that toward the beginning, which probably would have been the better spot to do the name drop. But what a great job they did here. As far as like as good as it could be, I think, for an introduction, and just making us at least feel like we're in the time period. Like that's I guess like, to be fair, like I have my minor things with it, but like that was really all that this really required for an introduction, was to just introduce us to what they're trying to do here. And I think it succeeded, I would say, at the very least, at capturing the feel of being back in Star Wars. And like I said, it's better than a lot of other Star Wars things I've seen or read. So there's that. It's got that going for it. Might not be as good as some other things, but it's better than a lot of others. So I'll get it. This would, I would say,
I mean, it ran 75 issues. So
yeah. Well, I mean, how often do like big corporate comic orders though get canceled, like in the middle of a
left
run?
and right.
Really? See, I wouldn't know because of how little I read them. I guess the only thing I really have read is
like
Star Wars. Yeah.
For instance, they did a Hellblazer run.
Yeah.
And it was very popular, and it got canceled on the 12th issue. And people threw an uproar, and it took like 5 years for DC to decide to run it again.
Yeah.
Like to bring back the original writer and the team and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So even like comics that are popular, but if it's not popular enough, it still gets the axe.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I remember this run in particular coming in with some like really, really bad reactions, but I do think that a lot of that was the Dark Horse purists as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not making a statement on whether Marvel did it better than Dark Horse. I don't know. Like, I mean, I like the Dark Horse stuff I've read. I can tell you that. I think it's very, very good so far. But what I will say is, like, I don't think that there's anything here as middling as we probably both felt this was. I don't think there was anything here to make me say that Marvel didn't do it right either at the same time. And it was weird because I remember after hearing a lot of those bad reactions in 2015, I talked to other friends that buy comics weekly, and they were the ones that told me it's actually a pretty damn good run. Like it's actually like it's pretty consistent with Star Wars, and so yeah, like you said, it's kind of middling, so not something you'd buy weekly, but yeah.
This Ultimate Downfall ended up being just adding so much on top of it.
Yeah,
you get Vader down, then you get the Obi-Wan journals, and
I agree. It was like
I was really interested in Marvel last year ran something called Blood Hunt,
and
I swear to God, every character in Marvel had their own offshoot comic.
Yeah,
and then that offshoot comic led to another, and it was like I can't keep up with all of this.
I think that was part of my thing with this, but I think like what I ended up realizing is like, even if you just kind of stick in the main line here, like it's not that bad. Like it still kind of goes in the straight and narrow. Because like I realized, like with the, like you were saying, the 2015 Vader run, not it's not great, you know. There's good stuff in it, but it wasn't great. Like I always still, even when I was reading that, felt like this was more significant, you know what I mean? Like that this was like, okay, it doesn't really matter that much, even though I bought all the damn Vader graphic novels. And you know, whenever they came out, it was like I read that whole run and it was like, this was 2017 did so much better with Vader. This one was, you know, because 2017 is better because it's after Revenge of the Sith as opposed to, or sorry, 2017 was after Revenge of the Sith as opposed to 2015 was, you know, stuff that could have just been in here. It's more like bonus content, you know, for what we're already kind of getting in these comics. So, but yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on this, man. Anything else you want to add about this run or anything?
No, I think we've talked about the 6 issues as much as we could.
I agree. I 100% agree.
That stone.
100% agree, man. Don't want to beat that dead horse, so you know we'll go ahead and get on out of here. But yeah, man, really, really fun talking to you about comics. This is actually, I think this is a great change of pace, you know, from what we were doing, and I think this could be a very cool, like, you know, time killer when there's not content going on. And obviously we'll mix it up as we go. You know, we won't just stick to comics. You know, we'll do a bunch of things, but this is one run I would like to commit to just because there is so many issues. I'd like to just knock it out, but personally, but yeah, man, we'll see how it goes. If it gets bad, we'll, you know, switch it up or whatever we got to do. Or if we get tired of it, we'll see, man. It'll be a discussion between us, but yeah, man. Anyway, so far so good though. I do want to continue. I'm a little bit motivated here, so let me know what you guys think of this run in the comments below. If you have read it, if it's good, do you think it's worth us continuing? That's a question too for the audience. Like, is it really worth us continuing? I know that this one, again, released with mixed reactions, but for those of you guys that liked it, are some of our demands actually met in this? You know, some of the things that we'd like to see moving forward actually met a little bit. Let us know that as well. But yeah, guys, once again, Spotify, you get the episodes a little bit early if you go follow us over there. So rate us, give us the 5 stars over there. It's always much appreciated. Before we get out of here, Josh, I know you don't really have anything to plug, right? So, all right. Perfect.
Nope.
Just always got to extend the invitation. But he'll be here. That's where you'll see him. And you'll see me here and doing a bunch of stuff. I just put out a non-spoiler review for the film The Gorge. Would love for you guys to check that out. Let me know what you thought of that movie. And then also,
we need to talk about that movie.
Have you and I talked about that yet?
We need to talk about that movie.
Okay, we'll do it after the show. Yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts on it. But yeah, anyway, guys, once again, my name is Dom. That's Josh, and we'll talk to you guys later.